Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 19, which is the gate of sensitivity. Okay, so we've got the sun in gate 19, which started on January 28th. It'll go until February 2nd. And the earth is in gate 33, which is the gate of privacy. So the sun in gate 19 is coming off the right side of the root down here. And it's also the gate of its sensitivity, its neediness on the low side. It's a love of nature and a love of animals, but it's also sensitivity about tactile things like your clothing and your food and your tags in your clothing. It's a very sensitive to other people's feelings, but also sensitive to other people's to your own tactile sense of what's going on in your world. Interesting in the book that Richard Rudd has, it's physiologically it's about body hair. So everything has its kind of place in the body graph, and this one's about body hair. So I just thought that was funny. So and the gate 33 comes off the bottom of the throat. It's up here. So kind of the opposite end of almost the opposite end of the chart. And this week there is no energy center definition at all. So if any of these gates, as usual, hook up with your own gates, then you will have some definition. But otherwise, there's no general definition for anybody in the chart this week. So with the sun in gate 19, it's called sensitivity. It's also called approach or wanting in the original I Ching. It's that all things are interrelated is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. So it's literally about being in a relationship with people and being sensitive to that. Being, whether it's nature or animals or other people, you're a very kind of sensitive being, really aware of the emotions of everybody else and aware of their sensitivities as well as your own. In the incarnation crosses this week, it's the crosses of the four ways, need and refinement. And in quantum human design, we call it attunement. In the gate 33, we've got the gate of privacy or retreat. In the original I Ching, it's active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. So basically, it's taking time to reset. It's taking time for yourself, having that privacy, having a little bit of a retreat, taking kind of withdrawing from whatever is going on in your life and giving yourself a little bit of time. You can see how these two would work in tandem with each other quite well, because the person who's very sensitive needs some time away from other people sometimes, needs to take a retreat, needs that privacy. Sometimes it's every day. And that's actually what's suggested if you do have the gate 33 in your chart. But sometimes it can also be just a 20-minute break here and there, or it can be a long-term vacation, or even an actual retreat where you go away from society for a while. These are the people who may in fact need the time away to go to those retreats in the mountains with the monks where they're silent for a week or two at a time. These people who with the 33 are more likely to be able or want to do that and really need it to function well. In the Gene Keys, forgetting is the shadow, mindfulness is the gift, and revelation is the CD. And in quantum human design, we call it retelling because it also has to do with storytelling and kind of coming back to the story. So with Gene Key 19, the shadow is codependence because that sensitivity can be needy at times. It can be somebody who is seen to be a needy person, a needy personality. And it's only because they don't know their own power, they don't know their own strength, and they're still maturing. Children can be quite needy when they're younger if they have the gate 19. The gift is sensitivity, and then the CD is sacrifice. In the graphic, Richard says, when your heart and being opens to sense the abundance of this energy, this gate 19 energy throughout nature, you become for the first time emotionally independent. And I think what he means by this is that once we can attune to nature, to animals, to the world outside us, the universe outside us, we can then open and see the abundance of it, see the crops coming. It'll soon be springtime in the northern hemisphere, and we'll see the flowers coming out and the crops coming in, and we'll see the abundance. We'll see the abundance of the birds and the cats and the dogs and all of nature that provides for us, right? That provides food. And this is where the Gate 19 is actually rooted in. It's rooted in the idea of food and plentiful food and abundance of food. It's a very kind of nurturing kind of energy when it's not too sensitive, right? It's very much it's actually part of the channel of love and marriage, as we call it, the 1949. Colloquially within human design, we call it the channel of love and marriage because it's about sensitivity, and the 49 is all about principles. And so you bring together and it's very tribal energy. And so it's very much about, staying within the culture, staying within the tribe, staying within taking that sensitivity plus the principles and coming together in marriage or partnership or some kind of coming together with two people or a group of people even. So getting back to the abundance of this energy throughout nature, you see the abundance of nature, and then you can become emotionally independent because you can trust that it will always be there. You can trust that there is this God within. That's what Richard says this gate is about. He says, as long as man believes in a God outside himself, the frequency of our planet will remain at the level of the 19th shadow. In other words, if we're codependent with other people or a society or a family or something like that, then we're not walking in our own power. We're not feeling the God within each of us that allows us to have our power and to have our individuality and to have our purpose in life, which is different than other people's. There's something you're here to do. And when you're doing it, you'll feel sensitive, yes, but also you'll feel independent and taking advantage of everything that's provided for you. He also says the higher frequencies of the 19th gene key have access to the realms of magic, because once you realize that you are emotionally independent and you can do whatever you deem appropriate to do within your lifetime, you'll be able to get away from be sensitive to others and yet be your own person. Right. So there's a lot of personalities this week, of course. Oprah Winfrey is one of them. Justin Timberlake, who was just on Saturday Night Live the other night, had a birthday, and Jackie Robinson, Langston Hughes, the poet, Adam Lambert, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was president during World War II for almost 12 years, that, had to have weighed heavy on him with this gate of sensitivity to have been in such a tumultuous war, but always wanting to, I suspect, have a peaceful end to it. In the end, it wasn't actually his decision to drop the bombs. It was Truman's. And so interesting how the world might have been a little bit different, when you look at the movies like Oppenheimer, for example, and you see that things could have been different if the bombs either weren't dropped or were used differently than they were used. So I hope you have a great week. Be aware, you might be more sensitive than usual, even though the emotional solar plexus is not defined this week, at least not, in the transits. You may feel more sensitive. You might feel more open to things that you weren't as open to before. You might have run-ins with nature or animals or tactile sensitivities, like, somebody changing the food you usually eat or your breakfast or your tomato sauce. Who knows? It could be anything. But you might be. But if you find yourself being more sensitive to it, just notice it. It'll go away in a few days if you don't have that usually in your chart. But you also might feel a little more needy It's a, kind of a cold time of the year for all of us, even in Florida. It's been pretty cold. So take good care, and I'll see you next time. Be well.